Hello, everyone. Andy Fox here. Welcome to this edition of Inside the Investigation. Today, we are looking at a double unsolved murder in Smithfield. Joining me is Lieutenant Will Wooley, who is the Lieutenant of Investigations. Tell us real quickly what happened here.
First, thank you for having me. Thanks for shedding light on this case. So in 2023, in July, we had a horrific scene of a double homicide in Jersey Park Apartments. Our officers responded in a timely manner with the assistance of Alawite County, and they located two deceased victims, Ashania Williams and Kion Edwards, inside of their apartment. And
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
10
on your side was also there. We will get more from the lieutenant, but first I want to show this report from Kiana Patterson, our reporter on the scene when this happened, to give you even more background on what the scene was like on that day.
Neighbors say a young man and a young woman's lives were cut short, and community activists say it is time for us to do something about the crime here at the Jersey Park Apartments.
A crime scene on Wren Road.
I got up this morning, I was shocked.
Police say two people were found dead around 1:30 this morning. Family members of Ashania Williams sent 10 on your side this picture, confirming she died at 21 years old. Neighbors say the man was also in his early 20s. They are hopeful the cameras in the area captured something.
Came outside, and a lot of people out here.
Martha Cypress also lives here and says her AC is out, so she must sit outside today as police collect evidence.
I feel lost because I feel like my hands are tied and I don't know what can be done.
Crime and living conditions are big issues for residents off of West Main Street. Just last week, Smithfield Town Council member Valerie Butler held a community meeting to address the ongoing concerns.
I have a compassion for people and I see what's happening in that community, and I'm a firm believer, I don't care what your socioeconomic status is, whatever you call home, it has to be a peaceful environment. And from what I see from the outside, that this community is not peaceful.
Butler says it is heartbreaking to hear two young adults died.
Gone too soon. I can't imagine how the grieving families feel.
Butler plans to contact state leaders to address ongoing issues at the complex.
One way that this change can be made if the residents take charge and take back their own community.
And say police are assisting with this investigation. Police say if you know anything at all, you're asked to call the crime line. In Smithfield, Kiana Patterson, 10 on your side.
All right, Kiana, thanks a lot. Great reporting from our friend Kiana Patterson. First of all, she talked about cameras. They were going to look for cameras. Any luck with cameras?
The camera system in the apartment complex wasn't working, so we unfortunately did not get any camera footage of anybody entering or leaving the apartment complex.
In our third segment, I will ask you about the current status of Jersey Park Apartments. I've been there myself. There is a crime issue in that area. We'll discuss that in the third segment. But before we get to that, can you tell me more about the initial response when you got there? Was there any underlying motive of what may have led to this shooting?
Yeah, so the initial response looked like we arrived at approximately 1:30, 1:15 in the morning on the 18th, and our officers arrived on scene, went inside the residence and located the two deceased victims. Shortly afterwards, they located a secondary scene across the street, and it was a suitcase that had been removed from the residence. That was located across the street. So about 150 feet away, 200.
What did you read into that? What was the purpose of the suitcase across the street?
Yeah, so it was interesting because the contents of the suitcase were clothing. So Ashani had actually gone up to her grandmother's house in DC that weekend. So she had just returned home at about 8 o'clock. So the contents were clothing, toiletries.
Did she leave it out there when she returned, or was it actually taken out of the residence after the murders?
Yeah, so it was taken out of the residence after the murders, and there was actually a trail of some of the contents that left from the residence all the way across the street.
What is that?
It's interesting.
Have you been able to come up with any hard hits on this?
We haven't. We'll get into a little bit later on some of the techniques that we use to process that and some of the things that we've done for that piece of evidence. But
That's with the lab results and
yeah.
that,
So,
yeah.
but the reason for why it was taken is still kind of a mystery.
Weird.
Unless somebody thought something else was in there,
Like money.
drugs, some of those things.
What was going on with the scene processing?
So the scene processing, we're very
Did you
thankful.
get anything?
So we collected a lot of evidence. At the time, we collected multiple cartridge casings that were left on scene.
And this is some of the scene video on that day. Go ahead.
We actually contacted state police and had them assist with processing the scene because at the time it was just myself and an officer assigned to investigations. So there was only two of us. So to process this large scene with lots of evidence and then also start the investigation, we just didn't have enough time. We didn't have enough resources. So we contacted state police and they were able to come out and assist us with not only an investigator, but also multiple special agents to process the scene.
Do you call on the state police a lot? I mean, that's part of inside the investigation is
Yeah.
that some smaller police departments need help.
So it depends on the scene. Since being in investigations, I have called on state police twice to help assist with the scene. And it really depends on what else could our resources be going to? How long is it going to take to process the scene? And then, currently we have a lot better trained. We currently have somebody else in the Forensic Science Academy. So our knowledge base in investigations is definitely growing.
Were there any eyewitnesses? Did anyone hear anything? I mean, I think we had the resident there. She was outside because it was so hot and, everything was unfolding in front of her with you all investigating. Anyone see anything, hear anything?
So
Do we know how
our-
many shots were fired?
Yeah. So during our canvass, we were able to locate one individual who was walking in the parking lot who stated at 11:30 on the 17th, he saw a black male carrying a suitcase running across the street. So
That's our suitcase.
that's our suitcase. Now we weren't notified of this shooting incident until 1:15 on the 18th.
Did he say he was saying anything?
He did not say anything.
Did he see him leave the suitcase
He
and
didn't
then
see
run
him
off?
leave the suitcase. He just saw him running from that area, that apartment, running through the parking lot out of Jersey Park.
Any descriptives of his face or anything like
Just
that?
that it was a black male.
Okay. Now, coming up in our next segment, we are going to revisit that family 1 year later. 10 on Your Side has been on this story, continuing to cover it. We're going to show you that report from Amy Avery coming up in our next segment, along with lab results and digital warrants, how that all plays inside the investigation. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone. Double unsolved murders in Smithfield. That is inside the investigation. Lieutenant Will Wooley back with us. And real quickly, did we get anything from the lab results on what may have happened or what may give us some of the answers?
So we did. So we received NIBIN hits. So NIBIN is the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. Big word.
Mm-hmm.
So what that is that when you fire a round, you fire a firearm, and the cartridge casing comes out, there are unique marks on that cartridge casing that go into a database. That database is searchable. So when we sent our cartridge casings to the lab, they were able to locate multiple incidents where those cartridge casings were used previously. They were in Newport News, Hampton, but those incidents didn't result in any significant damages. They were all shots fired calls. They were all shooting heard, nothing, no significant injuries or damage. So those investigations were pretty short, and there was no suspects developed in the other jurisdictions' shootings.
Okay. We'll catch up on that a little bit right after this report. I'm going to show it to you. It's from Amy Avery. She went out 1 year later, sat down with the family to discuss what happened, the pain, the suffering. 1 year then, nothing. And all right now, still a cold case. Take a look at Amy's report.
And I hope the families, those that know something, even the killer, will have an opportunity to hear these words.
Teresina Lassiter saw her 21-year-old granddaughter, Ashania Williams, hours before she was gunned down in Jersey Park Apartments around 11:30 p.m. on July 17th of last year. She had just dropped her off after spending the weekend together in Fairfax.
She said, "Grandma, I'm gonna take my stuff upstairs and I'll come back and get my hug." So she did, and she came back to the car, and we embraced and hugged each other. She walked away, but when she got to the door, she turned around and looked at me, and she said bye. But before I could get home, I got a call from my daughter-in-law that says Shani is hurt.
Lassiter says it took a while to set in and says every day she thinks of the beautiful flower plucked too soon.
So we miss her all the time. All the time, she's everywhere, and it'll always be that way.
Ashania lived with her boyfriend, 22-year-old Kion Edwards, who called Smithfield home.
My main goal was to bring that piece of paper home as, you know, a child, and whom you're going to marry is who I want you to bring. And she was the first girlfriend I ever met.
Kion loved to come up with plays on the football field, and his mom, Alicia Crump, says he was an advocate for the elderly.
That was one of his major things, was making sure elderly was okay in the neighborhood.
Crump says Kion had a big heart, and she's still struggling as to why this happened.
I'm not going to sit here and make it like his life was perfect, but my son just wasn't that violent child, you know, and I just don't understand why.
Smithfield police took over the scene from state police in the early morning hours of the 18th. Since then, court documents show they filed several search warrants to gain more insight into what led up to the shooting. Cameras inside the complex weren't recording that night. Lieutenant William Wooley says they've interviewed multiple people, but information has been difficult to come by.
What happened with this case was that some of the information that we would typically get on cases, we didn't.
Smithfield only averages about one homicide a year, and since they started keeping digital records in the early 2000s, this is the only double homicide case they have on file. It's also the only unsolved murder case they're actively working right now.
So I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this case. We have spent days and days and weeks working on it.
Time. Something these victims will never get back, and something these families would give anything to have again.
And I actually forgive the person that done this. You know, I really forgive him. I just want to know why, and I just want justice to be served.
We'll miss her, but she'll never be forgotten. And when justice comes, we're really gonna shout then, because it's coming.
Heartbreaking. I want to know why, and I want justice to be served. When you look back 1 year, by the way, you've aged very well in 1 year.
Thank you.
What do you think when you look back on that? 1 year of that family, no answers, no solid answers to say what happened.
I get emotional myself, really, because I know how much I have spent, how much time, how much effort I've spent not giving up, following other leads, asking for other people to come in and look. And it breaks my heart for the family, because I want the answers as well. You know, I'm just as invested now as they are.
Well, Lieutenant, I appreciate your emotion. And you've worked hard on this, and we're hoping that this will help. I want to go back to when you were talking before about cartridges that had similar markings on them that were found in Newport News. What we are saying is that the bullets came out of the same gun. Have we been able to piece that together?
So what happened?
Is that what we're saying?
Essentially. So what happens is that when you fire a round, you have the projectile that goes out, and that's not really traceable. You have the cartridge casing that comes out. That has identifying marks on it. So your cartridge casing will have the firing pin mark and ejector marks on it. And those are able to be tied to specific firearms. So one for one, this cartridge casing came from this firearm. We had our cartridge casings from our double homicide tied to multiple shooting scenes. What we then did is got into the digital realm. So we contacted those agencies. They were closed. They had closed those cases. And then we got into tower dumps. We got into geofences. We got into...
For the folks at home, well, I'll tell you what, we're out of time on this segment. So let's pick up the discussion on that when we come back inside the investigation. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone. Continuing our conversation with the lieutenant here, dealing with this double unsolved murders, the murders in Smithfield. When we left, we were talking about the cartridges, the markings, and also digital warrants. Pick it up from there.
So with digital warrants, what we ended up doing is, because we could tie different scenes, we then started looking at how can we get information from these scenes. The departments that they happened at, they were already closed. So we went into tower dumps. So every time you have your cell phone, it is trying to connect to a tower. It's looking for a signal. So what we can do is we can actually search different areas and times for devices that were in those locations. So we take the time of our double homicide, the time of this shooting, the time of that shooting, and we look for any common devices. We do the same thing with geofences. We set up an area and...
What's a geofence?
So that's through Google. So it's a little bit different. It is GPS and not cell phone signal. But it's the same concept. We take those areas and we look for any common devices in those areas.
Have you been able to, and I'm just a layman on this, but you have a gun fired in Smithfield, same markings as in Newport News. You're tracing where the cell phones were. Have you made any connections about those cell phones that may lead in the investigation?
Unfortunately,
am I saying it right?
You are. Unfortunately, we weren't able to. So we submitted all of the warrants. We went through the data. We were able to get with the FBI CAST, which is their cell phone gurus, and have them double check behind us to make sure we weren't missing anything.
So we can't place the gun to a phone in both locations.
We cannot.
How frustrating is that? Because that is what you're looking for.
It is frustrating. And I feel like every time there's something else that's frustrating. I didn't get into it, but we also didn't recover some things from the initial scene. So Kion's phone was never recovered. Well, that would tell us his last moves. That would tell us who he talked to last,
Maybe that's why he can't find his phone. They took it.
And that could be. So when we do an iCloud warrant, so to get all of the data, we don't get everything from up until the phone's missing. That data, your phone backs up. So some of that data was missing for us. So, I felt at so many different points throughout this case, we were coming up missing. We would submit something, we would have, hope. We would think, this is the next big thing. This is the next step in the investigation. And it would come up empty. And that's what happened with some of the DNA warrant. So we said that we recovered this suitcase, right? We have a witness saying that they see him taking a suitcase. So we need to check the suitcase for DNA. We send it to the lab, no results.
Tell me about MVAC and LexisNexis Consulting.
Yeah, so MVAC is think of it as a DNA vacuum. It has a solution that you spray onto an item that you're trying to get DNA off of. It vacuums it up and it catches the DNA in this little filter. So we were able to go to Lynchburg to demo this with the MVAC company. It's a new technology in Virginia. The lab doesn't have it and can't test for it currently. So we spray our suitcase down, we collect the DNA on the suitcase, and we send it off to a private lab, DNA Labs International. It's out of Florida. So we send that off with some elimination DNA, and we end up getting results back, but they aren't good enough to be able to identify singular strands of DNA. So they were able to tell us that there were four individual DNA components there, but they weren't able to unentangle them.
So it really makes you feel that whoever was doing this was a professional killer, obviously, and knew what to hide and knew what to take to make your investigation into finding that person or persons more difficult. Do you feel that way? The scene was clean to impede your investigation.
It was clean. Whether they were professional or not, they were able to cover their tracks well enough.
Did the family help you at all with who it may have been? Any bad blood? Anything like that? Oh, well, she talked about someone that wasn't treating her right. Anything?
Yeah, no, there wasn't. As far as Ashania's family, both families were great. Both families were spoke to us, and we still keep in communication with them.
What will it take to crack this case? What do you need? And we want people out there in the event that you know anything about this, please.
Yeah.
You saw the emotion from the lieutenant. I mean, help the families out and let's try to get this solved. 1-888 lock you up the crime line. You don't have to give your name. Is there a reward?
There is. We actually just upped the award. I wanted to announce here that we are upping the award to $10,000. We were able to get it funded by the town, and it is going to be put and earmarked in the crime line, because currently the crime line award is $1,500 for a tip. So we were able to budget it through the town to have a $10,000 reward for tips that lead to the investigation.
1-888 lock you up. Final thoughts on this case. How frustrating has it been? Has it been the most frustrating one you've had in your career, which spans how many years?
Since 2015.
Okay. Toughest one?
Easily. Easily. I've put
Any other cold cases?
No cold case homicides.
And you were saying this is the only double homicide in Smithfield?
That we know of.
Really?
So I was speaking with the chief, who's been there for quite a while. And we do not have couldn't find any records.
Tell me what you're doing about Jersey Park, okay? That's the name of the complex, isn't that correct? The
It
Jersey
is.
Park Apartments.
Jersey
In
Park,
our
Woods
amazing
Edge.
time, what are you all doing out there to clean up the crime in that area? Because it is a crime area that needs attention,
So
as we heard.
what we were able to do is we were under a ceasefire grant. We were able to get a camera trailer that we have out there. So now we at least have cameras working out there.
Did you say a ceasefire?
Ceasefire grant. Yep.
Okay. What does that mean?
It is a grant offered. It's actually open right now. It's offered to combat violent crimes. It's a state grant that they give you. You can apply for money to combat violent crimes.
That is amazing. Keep going.
So we were able to put a camera trailer up out there.
Is it out there full time?
It is.
And what does it do? What does that camera trailer do?
So the camera trailer has 360 cameras on it, and it also has a.
With a warning, you are in view of cameras.
Oh yeah, it is think of one of the light cameras with the generator on it that goes up. Think of that. It is a camera. It has solar panels on it, lots of batteries, and it can be live streamed. I mean, I can pull it up on my phone right now, and I can check it 24 hours a day.
Have you seen anything? Have you gotten any other crime solved because of it?
It has helped in some other shootings.
Has that cleaned up Jersey Park?
That alone won't clean up Jersey Park. We also have partnered with the Commonwealth to where whenever we do have shooting incidents, we charge everybody to the fullest extent of the law. So you fire one shot, you get charged with shooting within 1,000 feet of a school, and anything else that would be applicable based on the location.
All right. Well, Lieutenant Will Wooley, thank you for coming by. Great friend to Wavy TV 10. Worked with Amy Avery a lot on the report that she did there. And we are going to bring him back for another episode of Inside the Investigation. He'll be talking about, he's going to take us through step by step how you solve 7-Eleven robbery. It really is fascinating to see detail by detail, and it's done in a PowerPoint. And we will have that coming up in our next show. And Lieutenant, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're a great friend at 10 on your side. We appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again on the next Inside the Investigation.